D21, Nissan D21. What's going on? YouTubers, Twitter twatters, hashtaggers, Facebook lovers, Instagrammers, and all you selfie loving twatters. It's Hunter back, UFO Hunter back on the Nissan D21 channel. All right, this is it. This is D-Day. The toolbox is closed. Oh shit, there's nothing left on the counter. So this is the last little tutorial video, and it's going to go from here to the bed of the truck to the engine compartment where we put on the carburetor. Okay, throttle return springs can be purchased in a package. They come in a pair at AutoZone. This is part of the Weber kit. This is part of the Spectry stud kit, the 2-inch. It's like I think it was 2.5 inch or 2-inch. No, it's like a little it's either 2.5 or just a little over 2 inches. Spectry stud kit comes with the nuts and the washers. Those are 1/2 inch. Okay, that's what we'll be fastening the carburetor on to the adapter manifold. I silicone the air cleaner just to the lid, just silicone, not shoe goo. Okay, that way when I want to wash it, I just take it off, dunk it in some hot sudsy water, clean the cotton out. When it goes really bad, then I can just change it to a K&N. Alright, I want to verify some of the information that I might have given that was wrong on the D-Gas 38mm dual synchronous carb outlaw Weber. Alright, so I'm going to use a little pointer here. See those? There's a slit on the bottom of each one. Okay, that's where the run circuit goes to. That's where, when you're opening the throttle and you are starting to drive the vehicle, that's where the emulsified air and fuel sprays out in a smog. Okay, right here, see that little rod on that side? Those are accelerator pump squirters. Okay, there's a hole in each bottom of those. Those copper looking circles, those are air jets. Okay, or air corrector jets. On each side of this carburetor, you have an idle jet on each side. So I'm just going to use this side for reference. And you have an idle mixture screw. On the 38, to set it up, you first turn the screw all the way in, and not with a lot of force. When it bottoms out, you just lightly bottom it out, and then one full turn out, and then make a mark on your carburetor so you know that's the 180 degree, or back up to 12 o'clock. 360 degrees is a full circle. 180 degree is a half. So you can do it in increments if you like when you're making your adjustments. This is the vacuum advance that's on this side. For the vacuum advance, if you have an old school distributor, it's constant vacuum. Okay, so the idle jets are either 45 or 50s stock on here. I'm just going off the top of my head. Don't take my word for it. Okay, but whenever you get the rebuild kit for the specific carburetor, either the 3236 Progressive or the 3838 Outlaw, it'll give you a blown up chart of every component, the proper jet size that comes in for this carburetor as calibrated. This is the idle screw, or known as a speed screw. This is the throttle return spring, the backup spring that you attach to help keep pressure on it when it closes. It has one on there, but it's always good to have a backup one. Okay, this is the bowl vent. So you know, if you over pressurize or overflow the carb, sometimes it can spill out right here. Therefore, you need to open it up and readjust your float in there. It's adjustable. You can adjust your float. So if it's overflowing, it's dieseling or guzzling, yeah, it might start to leak out right there. I've seen it happen before. Okay, there's the other idle mixture. So screwing the screw in is lean. Screwing the screw out is rich. Is to richen it up. Okay, and that was really only it. That was the misinformation I gave last time because I was all excited. But as you can see, those 3 holes and those 3 holes provide fuel when the idle screw is in. So as it starts to come in, it opens or closes off a vein that leads to those 3 holes. That comes from the idle mixture screw on each side, okay? As you screw it in, less fuel comes through those little holes. As you open it, you're letting more fuel come out through those little holes, therefore richening up the idle, okay? It's not necessarily going to speed up the motor. It's just going to set it where the displacement of your motor, the way your intake is set up, your ignition system, if your timing is on or off, you know, this all plays a key, crucial role in how it's going to idle. Okay? So, just wanted to straighten that out. There's the cam that operates the accelerator pump. Underneath the screw is a filter. Okay? This is a not a 500, it's a 100 micron filter element. So it's high micron, any like 10, 30, 100, 50, 30. Get the highest one. It's a safety fuel filter right before it goes into the carburetor, okay? Even though I'm still using the Nissan factory filter, which is great because it's a high flow filter. And then this is the return. You can put your mouth in there and blow, and it'll just like blow right through. So hopefully all that fuel that's going in will still pressurize the fuel, the carburetor. If it doesn't, I can always pinch off the return to give a little bit more back pressure and therefore fill it up. Now, if it's overfilling it too much, I can always pinch the inlet to slow down the fuel rate so it fills it up and keeps returning. Okay? So this is the carb, and this is how it'll look. And then I'll use one clip here, or I might just use one clip on each side. It'll look nicer that way, you know? All right, so that's the carb. We're getting ready to put this sucker on. All right, let's go outside now. All right, we are now outside. The Speed Demon Head Dainese by Dainese. All right, guys, before you do this project, you're gonna wanna go make sure you get yourself a fuel pump that's adequate for this carburetor. 1 to 4 psi max. So by the time it's gravity fed, so by the time you're pumping it through the lines and it goes up to the carburetor, you're really going to be around 2.5 to 3 psi, because you're going to lose a little bit of psi on the way up. But it's a pretty strong little pump, and these are a little bit noisy because you drill 2 holes on the inside of the frame, and you want to sit this below the tank, below the level of the tank, but on the side of the frame. So the hose, one's going to come up and over, right, and this one's going to go to the carburetor. This is a non-return type fuel pump, and it's gasoline or diesel. Part number is 12426. At AutoZone they sell Edelbrock versions. You can try that too. They all have the reviews. Okay, easy to replace. There's some fuel line. All right, I cut off. That's the vent line, okay? The one that worked with the EGR system and the purging system and all that. That one only opens and closes with the solenoids with the EGR system. So that's why you always have a lot of pressure in your tank when you take off your cap, okay? When it's regular gas with a electronic fuel pump, it needs the vent. There's no reason to pressurize this gas tank. So therefore, you can put a little breather on it, or you can put a fuel line hose and run it on the side of the frame. Now this is just going to be temporary. I need to get like a 4 or 5 foot one, and I'm going to run it down on the side of the frame, and it's going to be pointed down right on the bottom of the truck. It'll be pointed down. I'm going to zip tie it to the frame, and it'll be pointed down. That's how I had it on my Toyota. Like I said, you could put a little breather. It'll just get dirty and clogged. So I'd rather just free flow vent with the line. Don't want to put it in front of the wheel, just in case you're at a screwed up curb. You're on a, maybe you're at a lean angle and you're on the highway and you're putting some G's on the vehicle while you're taking a turn, and all that pressure in the tank is leaning on one side. It might start flowing and flow out and go underneath one of your tires and might lose some traction. So it's good to just run it all the way out. So I'm just gonna leave it like that until I go get a longer hose, but that's just there, okay, to show you the example. Dun dun dun. All right, this is what I did, guys. Now, your throttle cable, I'm giving you solutions here. Your throttle cable comes like this, right? You have another little holder. So right around there, it's going to meet the throttle wheel. I put a little zip tie here to catch the cable in case it goes too far, right? Because that little bracket that they give you, it's flat. It needs to have a curve, right? So I can like bolt it onto one of these studs. So I'll have to modify that later, but for now, to keep the cable from collapsing and not having tension on the throttle, I'm gonna use this, and I can either pull it after more or loosen it if need be. That is a breather. This is the setup for the power booster, the vacuum, nice and clean. The shoe glue is completely dry. There's the EGR delete. That is a aftermarket transmission cable. It is very hard, just as stiff as the brake hose, therefore it won't collapse. And this is what you want to use, okay? This is what you want to use right here. That'll hold vacuum when you hit the brakes. And that one is stock, so it looks actually like it was supposed to be like that, nice and clean, okay? So move this out of the way. Wiring. This is the way I did the wiring. All right, you need that hooked up because you have a power source distributor. But remember, this is not a Unilight with a vacuum advance. So you still need the crank sensor on this vehicle is going to communicate to the computer, and the computer will tell the distributor, you know, where it is on the rotation, just so that it can fire off. And that's pretty much it. But there's aftermarket distributors for this that you can just convert it to a Unilight with a vacuum advance, and it has a power and ground, and you can run your RPM tack gauge off of that coil. So, okay, so this is what I did. I cleaned up all the wiring, put some lume on it, ran the wires underneath all of this, right? I'm gonna see, because after this, I'm gonna see which one of these power wires I can pull out that goes to the relay box and the vehicle still runs okay, because I don't know what all those little ones do. I know they power certain relays and fuses for that box. But we're gonna find out which ones work and which ones don't anymore. So, nice and cleaned up. And I need to go to AutoZone and just buy a longer heater hose. This is not gonna work. It'll work over here, right? It'll work there for now. But I just need to get one that's like, this needs to be 2.5 feet, not 2 feet long. Okay, here it is. Take that out. I know some people ask, damn dude, not everybody has the time of day to make everything look nice, neat and clean. I'm like, well, if you're gonna do this, yeah, you do. Some people are in a rush and they just want to do it, and they do a quick job, and they have wire loom, spliced, cut wires everywhere. You can do it if you're in a fix, you know, but I took the time, I put the vehicle down, and you know, so I can do it. I don't have to come back and do it another day. So here it is, okay. There is the high velocity factory plate. There is the Mr. Gasket part number 1933. I went and got a proper size drill bit at Walmart. Drilled I used the factory plate on the bottom and siliconed it to this plate to hold it in place. And then I just ran the drill bit through from the bottom side, so that way it would, you know, just chew out the soft cast aluminum, because the drill pit will go right through that soft cast aluminum. But you gotta be careful, don't overforce it or you'll crack it. And of course, all this sealant you see is not silicone, that is shoe, because it has never failed me. and that is my fail safe. So it is completely dried. I put a little gray gasket that's fuel resistant. Just smeared it ever so lightly on top of the paper gasket there. Now I can come over here and bolt the carburetor on, and I'm going to do that on camera. And then I'm going to hook up my lines, and the way this will be the inlet, this will be the return. It doesn't look like I'm gonna have to change out my fuel hoses after all, so that's good. This is the little bitty thermostat for your temperature gauge. So you can see I custom used that brain of ground wires, ran it around, give it some stability because it's a single wire. Screwed it back in. I cut off all that plastic stuff and the two prongs that stuck up off the thermostat switch. Took it out, put it back in, put some gasket, and then covered it with some gray so it's nice and flush so it doesn't look like an ugly eyesore. All this is gonna have to get degreased, washed, and scrubbed with a brush because there's so much beauty potential behind this simple setup. It's not a build. I didn't build this. I'm just setting it up my way. Let me go get the carburetor and we'll get this on, okay? I won't be able to start it up on camera because I'm a one-man camera crew today, but I'm letting you know this is how I set it up. This is what I used. You know, I used an aftermarket fuel inlet, brass fuel inlet. They sell them at AutoZone at different sizes. Like I said, if you take out one of those studs with an Allen wrench, you can go take that little stud and match it up to an inlet, a brass inlet, because it's softer metal and you can get it real close to it's coarse threads, not fine threads. Then you can screw it in, and I sealed it up with shoe glue. It'll never come out. It's very stiff. It's in there. So I don't even need to zip tie that against there. So I just need a longer heater hose so I could run it down, tuck it nice, and it'll come underneath hidden because I don't want to cover any of this. So I ran my distributor wire and the ground and thermostat together, two separate wires, tucked it in there, and see, I could zip tie that. That's the old brain of wires. I just tucked it in. Well, that's like live wires, that brain, but the old brain is tucked underneath it, and I can just zip tie it all together, and it's cleaned up nice and neat. Those individual wires were for the MAF and the TPS sensor. Ugh, the headache wires. This is the old vent line, and that went all the way across to all the old EGR canister, the purge system on the solenoids that click and open when the truck opens it up so it can reburn the vapors out of the charcoal canister, etc. It's really a clean burning system, but you know, a healthy running motor is pretty clean running, good filtration, good air filter. Make sure you got your breathers on. You know, it's not going to be heavily smogged and polluting dirty. But think of it like this: nobody can put their mouth up to an exhaust pipe and take a full breath in, no matter how clean or how clean it is. You know, until we all go electric, I'll yank this out and put a big old electric motor and bolt it up to that, which I'm an electrical guru, y'all know that, and that'll be the day. All right, so let me go get the carb. Voila. No, I'm joking. Y'all thought it was on there. Here, it's sitting right here. Another reason why I did a very thin coat on the paper gasket is because those paper gaskets, they seal good, but they tear up. So more than likely, when it comes time for me to take the carb off, it won't tear up or stick to the carburetor. So a nice thin film of that gray gasket that's fuel resistant is a nice way to coat it, but it'll also keep it sealed. So when I take it off, I don't have to use a razor blade and clean anything off. More than likely, it'll just still be on there. In the event I need to take it off, take it inside, make a cup of coffee, and take it apart and rebuild it. But for tuning, I can just leave it on here, take out an idle mixture screw jet if I have to, etc. So let's get it on. Shazam. Boom. Clears the hood. So you see, I added all that stack height to be a super sucker. Yep. Now I can put the washers and screws on. Let me see. Let's see if my theory was correct on the lines. Okay. Boom. This will be the return. Oh yeah, no kink. So what you want, you don't want a kink. And oh, that's the full bowl vent. Perfect. Cool. Now if I want to add a little bit more length to that, I could, but be as it may, it's not going to be stressed out. Good thing I added that on there. It gave a little bit more length. Let's see what it's going to look like with the okay, because getting it running is one thing, making sure okay. So I need to take that zip tie off, hook this up, put it in the little eyelet, right? And then make my adjustments so that way the cable doesn't move back and forth. Okay, pretty cool. So this is what it looks like, guys. Yeah, no, I should have put some zip ties right there because now remember this yellow wire, it is the power switch, power wire that is just powered up, that goes to the lighted up switch inside the cabin. Okay, it's grounded in a power, goes to the switch, and it's a 3-prong. So yes, that's why the light comes on whenever you turn on the fan. So like I said, I used to have it just tapped in here, but I want to find a better on-off source when I turn on the key. I kind of like it with the switch, but takes a little bit load off the ignition system. But now that I've killed all the electrics and extra sensors that aren't going to be requiring voltage and a droppage of minute amperage here and there, you know, more resistance. Resistance is a measurement of ohms. Amperage is amp draw, like the actual pull of a unit that's working off of the voltage. You know, like an electric motor, it pulls so many amps, right? But it depends on how hard it has to work. The harder it has to work, more amps it's going to pull at a given voltage. So if it's 12 volts, right, it'll work, but the more force you put on it, it has to work harder. It's going to be sucking more amps. So therefore, you need to make that straw, that stream of electrons in the straw, you need to open it up like a stream of water, but a stream of electrons. You have to flow more electrons through, more amps to go through. See what I'm showing you guys? It's like audio. Big grounds, big power and ground, to make sure that all the flow of electrons are there. That's why all the wire that's used in vehicles is 100% pure copper. They don't use copper clad. So my dream, not my dream, but my vision is here. Clean, easy to work on. I just got to get my headers on. I got to get these torsions out. The headers are my least concern. It has a full exhaust. It has a straight pipe to the back. Whether it had a high flow catalytic converter or not, a high flow catalytic converter doesn't give any back resistance. It's just for emissions. So if you have a real sticky state with smog emissions, you can have a catalytic converter. I should have one on, but I don't, because I'm a bastard like that. And for all you people that are like, well, why does it always have to be so clean and organized, you know? Well, it's because that's the way I am. Think about it. If I was always to show my face instead of what I'm doing, and I said, well, today I took 2 giant healthy shits because of A1G products or something, that would be focusing the attention on me and not what I'm showing. So I'm just the voice and the pointer. You know, so I may zip tie a few more things, tidy it up. Be easier to wash now. Now I know this is what tells you where everything is. Okay. Yeah. And the next video will be of me doing something else, or just tuning, maybe some tuning. But be as it may, this is what it looks like. I need to get the bolts in. I'm gonna hook up my fuel lines, prime the carb, give it a few pumps, and I gotta hook up that throttle cable because I don't have my cameraman out here to sit in the vehicle and turn the key while I manipulate the throttle butterflies to open and close to, you know, get the motor going. And there's no choke on here. I took the choke off, but you know what, these carburetors warm up fairly quickly. So do I recommend taking off the choke? No, but I've never ran a choke on any of my Webers. Even my side drafts, I never ran the choke cable. I just didn't. I'm used to feathering the throttle and warming it up manually. And you know, about a minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe of warming up, the carbs, they come into idle all on their own. You know, the motor starts coming up to temperature or whatever, because the surface of the metal inside the motor, the intake, everything is very, very cold. So it's okay to have cool fuel, a cold fuel air mixture, but the metal surface that it's going into needs to be warmer. That's why the motor needs to come up to temp, the oils. That's how they do their job with the anti-friction, you know, chemicals in there, and the air and fuel mixture. But all right, guys, I'm still that bastard. I'm still that freaking bastard. Doing it Augie style. Oh God, some cat's getting some tail. All right, guys, hope this was beneficial to y'all. Any questions on this? What to do a distributor, an advanced distributor versus the electric distributor, the power system, the charging system, why I did the stack the way I did it. This is my way of doing it. This is the way I figured it out. You know, wanting to stick up the carburetor as high as I could to get a good planium effect. That's for response and atomization of the air and fuel mixture. Okay? So, try not to sound like a scientist and too serious all the time. So, time to go fuck off and get this motherfucker going. Peace.